A few hours ago, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation officially announced that in the last 72 hours, the Ukrainian army had attacked the Kursk region twice, with the help of Western long-range missiles. Moreover, for the first time in the entire period of hostilities, the Russian Defense Ministry officially recognized the hit of important military facilities on the territory of the Russian Federation. In particular, General Igor Konashenkov officially confirmed that on November 23, the enemy, with the help of 5 American ATACMS ballistic missiles, struck the positions of the S-400 anti-aircraft missile division near the settlement of Lodorevka in the Kursk region. According to him, during this attack, the mobile self-propelled surface-to-air anti-aircraft system Pantsir S-1 managed to shoot down 3 American missiles. However, the remaining 2 missiles reached their targets, as a result of which the radar station was damaged and several Russian servicemen were injured of varying severity. On November 25, the enemy attacked the Kursk region again, this time with the help of 8 American ATACMS ballistic missiles. It is reported that a missile strike was carried out on the Kursk-Vostochny airfield, in the village of Kalino. During this attack, the S-400 and Pantsir S-1 air defense systems managed to shoot down 7 American ballistic missiles. Unfortunately, 1 missile still managed to reach its target, causing minor damage to infrastructure facilities. Later, the official representative of the Russian military department added that the Ministry of Defense is in full control of the situation, and that Russia is currently preparing a plan of retaliatory actions. The world expert community was shocked by this official message from the Russian military department. In particular, authoritative military expert and journalist Alexei Sokonkin said that the Russian Defense Ministry has never made such loud statements regarding retaliatory strikes against enemy forces. According to him, all this indicates that information preparations are underway before our eyes for some kind of loud and ruinous ultimatum against the West and its puppets in Kyiv. My dear truth seekers, given the fact that in his recent speech, Vladimir Putin personally promised Moscow's enemies a tough retaliatory strike if they continue to attack Russian territory, then there is no doubt that at this moment, Moscow is really preparing an unpleasant surprise for Ukraine and NATO countries. Former National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, John Bolton, also did not stand aside and comment on the current situation. In particular, he expressed concern about the future fate of Ukraine. According to him, by escalating the conflict, Joe Biden pursued 2 goals: to preserve his own reputation and make things harder for Donald Trump, who promised to resolve the military conflict in Ukraine within 24 hours. To be honest, I'm not sure why they do that. Western missiles will not change the situation on the battlefield. Most likely, they are doing this to preserve their reputation and will not allow Trump to end this conflict within 24 hours. It is obvious to everyone that after the Ukrainian army began to fire deep into Russian territory with the help of Western long-range missiles, Donald Trump will not be able to resolve this conflict very quickly. In this regard, I have concerns about the future fate of Ukraine, former National Security Advisor to the President of the United States John Bolton said. Commenting on the statement of the Russian military department, an authoritative military analyst, advisor to the Russian Academy of Missile and Artillery Sciences, candidate of Historical Sciences, Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Oleg Ivanikov, bluntly stated that the upcoming Russian retaliatory strike would be a big and unpleasant surprise for NATO and Pentagon generals. Citing his own sources in the Russian military department, Oleg Ivanikov said that in addition to the hypersonic ballistic missile Orshnik, Russia has several types of 5th-generation weapons systems, which are much more deadly and dangerous than the latest Orshnik. These latest weapons systems use artificial intelligence and nanotechnology. I believe that Russia will not use the hypersonic ballistic missile Orshnik this time. I am confident that Russia will use one of its latest experimental weapons with artificial intelligence and nanotechnology to retaliate, which will be a complete surprise to Western generals who continue to push Ukraine to certain death, Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Oleg Ivanikov said. The fact that on November 27, Moscow officially announced the closure of the airspace over the Kapustin Yar test site, in the Astrakhan region, indicates that Russia is indeed preparing to launch the latest missile previously unknown to anyone. Moreover, abnormally high radiation from the world's most powerful electronic warfare system Murmansk BM is recorded in the area of this test site, as a result of which even the most powerful NATO satellites go blind, while flying above this military facility. All this is done so that the West cannot see and take a picture of the latest Russian fifth-generation experimental weapons systems. Commenting on the upcoming Russian retaliatory strike, independent Western military experts and analysts expressed confidence that the latest Russian missiles will hit important NATO facilities in Ukraine, decision-making centers, weapons factories, and logistics hubs, such as seaports, railways, and runways. Against this backdrop, insiders in Kyiv report that the military-political leadership of Ukraine is in a state of high stress, in anticipation of a crushing Russian missile strike. Insiders claim that Vladimir Zelensky and other representatives of the Kyiv regime do not leave the underground bunkers for the second day. Moreover, on November 27, an air alert was declared in Ukraine due to the threat of a ballistic missile strike. The Ukrainian General Staff officially stated that means of reconnaissance allegedly recorded the launch of a ballistic missile in Russia. However, 2 hours later, the Ukrainian military department denied this information, stating that it was a false alarm. All this indicates that Ukraine is very nervous and worried in anticipation of a Russian retaliatory strike. Well, my dear truth seekers, given the fact that Washington, Paris, and London have officially declared that the launch of the latest Russian hypersonic ballistic missile Orshnik will not change the West's political and military course in the Ukrainian conflict, I believe that Putin should hit and destroy enemy military facilities not only in Ukraine, but also in NATO countries. Only in this case, Western leaders will be afraid and stop escalating the conflict. I am sure that further missile strikes only on Ukraine will not give any results, since the West does not care about this country. I am sure that only the destruction of one of the NATO bases on the territory of Poland, Romania, Britain, Germany, or England will frighten the Western warmongers, and they will finally stop and refuse to undergo further escalation of the conflict.